a 6-year-old girl found dead in her own home. Decades later, investigators still don't have the answers. These are 6 chilling cold case murders that still haunt America. Number 6. JonBenét Ramsey. The day after Christmas in 1996, Boulder, Colorado woke to a nightmare. Inside the Ramsey family home, a ransom note demanded $118,000 for 6-year-old JonBenét. Hours later, she was found dead in the basement. She'd been strangled, and her skull was fractured. The scene was unlike anything investigators had ever seen. A note written on the family's own notepad, a basement window that may have been forced, and DNA on JonBenét's clothes that matched no one in the house. Theories split instantly. Was this the work of a parent staging a crime, or a stranger who slipped inside unnoticed? Every lead seemed to pull in a new direction. Experts tore apart the handwriting, analyzed every fiber, every footprint, every word in that strange note. Some pointed to the Ramseys themselves. Others were certain the killer was still out there. Yet no suspect ever fit completely. Nearly 3 decades later, the case refuses to die. Books, documentaries, endless debates, still no arrest. JonBenét's murder remains one of America's most enduring mysteries, a puzzle with pieces that never seem to lock into place. Number 5. Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia. In January 1947, Los Angeles woke to a nightmare. A young woman's body was found in an empty lot, cut in half, drained of blood, and arranged in a way that looked more like a twisted display than a murder. Her name was Elizabeth Short, just 22 years old, chasing dreams of stardom in Hollywood. The press called her the Black Dahlia, and almost overnight, she became the center of a media storm. Rumors spread like wildfire, and the city's underbelly of crime, corruption, and secrets suddenly felt very close to the surface. Police were flooded with confessions. Dozens of people claimed responsibility, but every lead collapsed under scrutiny. Nearly 80 years later, the mystery refuses to fade. Elizabeth's murder has become part of Los Angeles's dark mythology, a reminder that behind the glitz and glamour, the city hides stories that may never be solved. Number 4. The Zodiac Killer. In the late 1960s, fear spread through Northern California as an unknown predator began to strike. He called himself the Zodiac. In less than a year, he gunned down couples on quiet back roads, stabbed 2 students by a lake, and executed a cab driver in San Francisco.
Really did an exceptional job in that.
Well, through the whole thing, like I mentioned before, at the beginning, I did think I was going to die.
But it wasn't just the violence that terrified people. It was the way he toyed with the world. Letters arrived at newspapers filled with codes, threats, and that strange crosshair symbol. Some of his ciphers were cracked, hinting at twisted fantasies of collecting souls. Others remain undeciphered, keeping his secrets locked away. Survivors described him.
From that moment on, one has to have certain goals that you have to set. The first goal, of course, was to live.
Witnesses saw him, and investigators pored over every lead. Yet every suspect, even the most infamous ones, eventually fell through. Decades later, his name is still unknown. The Zodiac didn't just kill, he left a puzzle behind. A puzzle that has outlived generations of detectives, and a shadow that still lingers over California. Number 3. Oakland County Child Killer. Between 1976 and 1977, 4 children, Mark Stebbins, Jill Robinson, Christine Mihelic, and Timothy King, were taken and murdered in Oakland County, Michigan. Each was held for days before being killed, then left where they would be quickly found. Mark was attacked, his body showing clear rope burns. Jill was shot in the face with a shotgun, her backpack still on. Christine was smothered after being missing for nearly 3 weeks. Timothy was discovered in a ditch, freshly bathed and fed fried chicken shortly before his death, as if someone had carefully prepared him. The murders sparked panic across the suburbs of Detroit. Police released sketches of a long-haired man seen near one of the abductions, driving a blue AMC Gremlin. A task force investigated over 18,000 tips, the largest manhunt in U.S. history at the time, but no arrests were ever made. Years later, forensic tests found dog hairs on the victims that matched those in the car of Arch Sloan, a convicted pedophile. But the hairs didn't belong to Sloan, they belonged to someone else who had used his vehicle. Another suspect, Christopher Bush, the son of a GM executive, had a history of abusing boys. When he was found dead in 1978, investigators discovered ropes and disturbing drawings in his home, but DNA evidence ruled him out. Other leads, including anonymous letters describing supposed accomplices, went nowhere. The case also uncovered other rings in Michigan, including one on North Fox Island, raising fears the murders were tied to a wider network. Decades later, the case remains unsolved. The killer, nicknamed the babysitter because of how carefully the victims were kept, still haunts Oakland County, with families left waiting for justice. Number 2. Chicago Tylenol Murders. September 1982, Chicago. Out of nowhere, people began collapsing in their homes, at work, and on the streets. A 12-year-old girl, a young man, a mother of 4. Within hours, they were gone. All of them linked by one thing. They had taken extra-strength Tylenol. Tests revealed the capsules had been poisoned with potassium cyanide. The victims lived in different suburbs, with no ties to each other. Fear spread like wildfire. Store shelves were emptied, emergency lines were jammed, and millions of Americans wondered if the medicine in their cabinet could kill them.
$1 million ransom is not paid.
We have a nationwide search for a picture of a person who identifies himself as, at one time, as James E. Lewis and Robert Richardson.
Johnson & Johnson reacted fast, pulling more than 30 million bottles from stores, an unprecedented recall that cost over $100 million. They later created tamper-proof packaging, a standard that exists to this day. But the person who slipped poison into those bottles was never found. Leads went nowhere. Even a man who tried to blackmail the company turned out to be a dead end. Decades later, DNA testing has offered no answers. The case changed how we buy medicine forever. But the killer remains a shadow. Someone who committed one of the most chilling acts of random terror in American history. Finally, number 1, Delphi Murders. In February 2017, Delphi, Indiana, became the setting for one of the most haunting cases in recent memory. On the afternoon of the 13th, 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German set off along the Monon High Bridge Trail, a walk that should have been ordinary. They never returned. The next day, their bodies were discovered in the woods nearby. But what shook the nation was what Libby had managed to capture on her phone. Grainy footage of a man closing in on them, and a voice giving a chilling order. Down the hill.
See, this is the path that we go down. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
For years, that brief clip was all the public had. The image of the man, the sound of his words, and the mystery of his identity kept Delphi trapped in fear. Tips poured in by the thousands. Every face in town was scrutinized. Yet no arrest came, and the silence only deepened the unease. Then, in 2022, investigators finally made their move. Richard Allen, a pharmacy worker living quietly in Delphi, was charged with the murders.
County clerk, so I did. And I asked for these 4 items that I had seen in the courtroom, but I wanted to get a better look.
Webster received multiple phone calls where Allen confessed to his wife and to his mother.
So did Kathy tell you that I did?
In 2024, he was convicted. Still, doubts linger. His defense continues to fight the ruling, and questions about motive, possible accomplices, and hidden details leave the truth feeling incomplete. Even with a verdict, the case refuses to rest. For the families of Abby and Libby, grief and love remain side by side. And for Delphi, the shadow of that day still lingers, proof of how a single moment can forever change a town. And there you have it, 6 of the most chilling cold case murders in America. From JonBenét Ramsey to the Delphi murders, each one shows that justice doesn't always come. Some cases fade into history, while others still feel dangerously close. But the fight for answers never stops, and the hope for truth remains alive. Which of these cases stays with you the most? Do you think any of them will ever be solved? Share your thoughts in the comments. And remember, stay alert, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.